are listening to the Chompcast, the official podcast of Sword Chomp. And remember, you can always go to swordchomp.com where you can access the many places our podcast is available for download. But if you're listening to the show right now, that means you must have found us. So welcome to the madness that is the Chompcast. You can also find us on Patreon, www.patreon.com/swordchomp. If you would like to support us financially, look for our VIP tier. And hey, you never know. Maybe next year we'll have enough funding to get ourselves to E3 because, well, E3 is all we're here today to talk about. E3 2018 is in the books, and we are excited because, you know, one cool thing about our show, just by the timing when we record, we've had a whole week to digest and process all this E3 news and information. And this is pretty cool. I think for most people that absorb content throughout the week, by the time they get our show, it's going to be a nice follow-up to that. All podcasts long, we're going to be breaking down all the elements of the show that were interesting to us and our favorite games as well. It's going to be epic. We have all the polls that I ran this week on the Instagram page for Sword Chomp were E3 themed, from the legendary Last of Us 2 Kiss to Assassin's Creed romances and no Metroid Prime 4 at E3. Tons of interesting polls. We're going to run down the results. So by the way, every Tuesday at Sword Chomp on Instagram, you can vote. And you should, because we will read them and talk about them, the results on the show. We have tons and tons of listener, follower comments from the Instagram page as well that we're going to splice into the show more than ever this week. I'm going to try to do it in a creative way as well, because this is our very special E3 Spectacular. I want to get as many people involved as possible. That's all we're talking about today. E3 from beginning to end. It's going to be an amazing time. So let's get to some intros. I'm excited to talk about E3. Been waiting all week to get to this with you guys. But up first, I can see him dancing on the webcam. The one and only from Texas, the Filipino Johnny Depp. Fish is here. Fish, this was your first. This was your first year that you watched the E3 press conferences with me and Josh, and in many ways, we took your E3 press conference virginity, I would say. So I have to ask.
Left me all bloody and everything.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. That's not what I was hoping for. I was going to ask you if now
the fuck is going on?
Didn't you watch the Twitch stream, Shay? It got out of control real quick.
If you missed we were streaming the whole thing, and
You're streaming? Nah, I'm going to stop. Fair enough. You were streaming. Okay.
I was enjoying some video games. Morgan and Josh were, there watching the conference with us, and one thing led to another, being in close proximity, and things happen.
That's the way it goes. And look, you definitely took this in a fun direction, Fish. I was going to ask you, like much like when you lose your virginity, was it everything you hoped to be? Was it like the movies that you imagined when you were a kid? But you've already answered my question, so that's really, really no point in falsing further.
Yeah, you knew I love buttered popcorn, so I just started going crazy on that buttered popcorn that was in your lap, and
it was one of those. Okay.
Yeah, there was something squishy
stop.
in there.
Stop.
It's like where you cut the hole in the bottom of the popcorn bucket. And one of those situations, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we're on the couch there, metaphorically, watching E3 together. So, look, Fish took this in a crazier direction than I even intended to. All right, I don't take any responsibility for this.
No, but I had fun. It was
fun,
definitely interesting to see your guys' reactions to games and hearing your guys' commentary as we were just blasted with a bunch of gameplay trailers and whatnot, reveals, and just seeing your guys' excitement just brought a whole new level to just watching it alone,
Yeah. You even got to do, it was fun, like, to switch up the chemistry, because I couldn't make the Sony show, so it was interesting seeing you and Josh do a conference together. One thing I loved seeing is sort of like switching our chemistry around a little bit in fun ways. And I was watching the Twitch stream as I was driving home from work, which is not safe
Don't
to
tell
do.
him about that. He doesn't know about the chemistry.
Isn't okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. You're going to mess up my results.
All right. Sorry. But it's interesting because it was at one point the Sony conference like stream died, and it was just funny because Josh was like, "Oh, fish! Now we've got to talk to each other awkwardly here. Here we go. We're forced to communicate. Oh no!" But it was good. You guys did a good job. It was funny. It was entertaining. I loved it. I love listening to it. Very weird for me because I'm very rarely watching that as a consumer. Anyways, thank you for being here, Fish, as usual. And wouldn't want to do this without your depraved soul. Up next from Japan, Shay Layton is here, the professor. Sadly, because of the whole time zone, halfway across the world thing, Shay could not join us for a lot of these E3 festivities this year. And honestly, Shay, I've just been feeling so distant from you lately, and I don't want us to be like strangers just passing in the night. I want us to be in love again.
Well, it sounds like you and Fish have already discovered your blossoming love on a ill-fated couch, unfortunately.
You don't have when you get Fish around a couch. We've talked about this in the past. It's like
so many times.
Oh god, I forgot the what's the word for like when something's turns you on?
Arouses?
Fish.
No, god damn it. It's like when they put something in a food and when it's like something in a food and you eat it.
That wasn't, but he's hiding his boner now.
I'll
tomatoes.
No. God damn it. Anyways, it's a word that basically like when you eat something, it's like aphrodisiac. Aphrodisiac, yes. A couch is like an aphrodisiac to Fish. Thank you guys for no idea what I was talking about. But yeah, Shay, it sucks. We didn't get to do a lot of those things with you, but I hope you enjoyed absorbing a lot of the E3 content, however you did.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah, I'm excited to talk more about it today.
He's ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
We're ready to hash some shit out. Josh is here. And Josh, I'm glad you're here today. So I've been sitting on this joke for a couple months now, and it's pretty vile. So I figured I would go for it because as soon as I thought of it, I I've just been sitting on it forever, and it's really just it's a bad situation now. Mm-hmm. But whatever, I'm just gonna go for it. It's a little bit of an inside joke, but that's the way it is. So Josh absorbed every E3 conference this year. It was incredible. Josh, as far as I know, didn't miss a single one of them. That's what he did last year as well. At least the major ones. Mm-hmm. And Josh was just absorbing E3 press conferences with the same veracity that his butthole might absorb a fresh ice cube. Thoughts?
Sorry? I was thinking about something.
You're imagining the ice cube?
A little distracted here. That's...
Okay. I don't blame you. Although some of those conferences like Nintendo would be like spitting that ice cube back out.
Yeah, yeah.
A little freezer burn.
Mm-hmm.
Which is disappointing because you're the Nintendo guy.
Yeah, I think Nintendo could have lived without the conference at all. Like everything they showed was good. It was stuff that was coming up really soon that we'd already pretty much all heard about. A lot of it was coming out right then. Like they announced Fortnite coming out that day. They announced that Splatoon 2 expansion that we also knew was coming. That was coming out the next day. Just a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, like as far as a conference went, it was hard to really get excited about it because we didn't nothing new. We just didn't really hear anything new, which was kind of sad.
Very strange. Well, that's one thing that we'll get to eventually. I, of course, am Morgan Barnes here from Montana. That's the thing that when I always tell people that E3 is kind of like Christmas to me, it's like the metaphor I make is every announcement is kind of like a present. Not every present is going to be good, but it's the excitement of when you're a kid, of opening all the presents that get you, wondering what's going to be in there. Every time there's an announcement, world premiere or this and that, it's like, what's it going to be? Now, sometimes that doesn't always follow through. Like, oh, grandma, thanks for this sweater. But it was the excitement of wondering what it was before you found out it was a sweater. And that's kind of what E3 has always been for me. It's like Christmas for a whole week straight of just magic. Although nowadays most of the magic happens with the press conferences, so that's probably where I'll start with most of these. Starting with each press conference, I'll probably throw it to you guys and see which games stuck out to you. I have a list of all the major stuff that was announced in case we forget anything vital or we want to roll through stuff. But one of the cool things about how we do it is, we're not the press. We don't have to announce every little thing, just the things that meant something to us or that we thought were interesting. So, big picture, if we were to start things off with, let's say, Microsoft. I know EA came first, and we'll talk about that later. I don't really consider them like a big hitter and whatnot as far as like the major things we care about. We'll talk. I do have E3. We'll talk about them later. Let's start with Microsoft. Okay, interesting press conference. My big picture thought here. I feel like being crushed by Sony earlier on has actually caused Microsoft to, instead of chasing this sort of, that silly console war, who can sell the most systems and games and all that stuff, they've actually forced Microsoft to just totally change. They're like, look, we're not going to catch Sony. Let's just focus on building a stronger Xbox, which we thought was weird. And now this year it's like, let's focus on Game Pass, which is amazing, and this special controller that the adaptive, is that what it's called, the adaptive controller for like people who have issues playing video games and whatnot, health issues.
I'd need to look it up. I'm not 100% on the name. That sounds right.
Yeah, I believe it's it's a really cool controller made for people with disabilities and stuff so they can still play video games. And like Microsoft has just been, the press conferences, of all the conferences, this is my personal favorite style-wise. Like they basically come out, they do a starting trailer, then they do a bunch of like world premiere, like little videos, boom, boom, boom. And then they had like little patches of gameplay here and there, but it's like an onslaught of fun content. And then they end it with a bang usually, which is different than what the other conferences do. So I'm just really impressed. Microsoft has turned it around for me personally. I feel like losing that console war and just focusing on how to make things more unique and better for themselves has actually been better for everyone. So
if only they could make their games as exciting as their conferences.
Well, they're getting there. Yeah. But yes, yeah. I mean, that's a fair point, and we're going to get to some of those games right now. I've kind of turned around a little bit on that, but let's go around the room here first. Fish, I'll throw it to you. We watched that Microsoft conference together. Like what? Let's start with like a major takeaway, and then like let's start with a game that you saw that you wanted to talk about.
First off, I only saw 2 conferences, and that was Microsoft and Sony. And God, that it's such a world of difference between those 2 conferences. I think I haven't really watched any previous, or at least the past like couple of years of E3 coverage and conferences. Just picked up what games were announced and whatnot. But watching Microsoft's conference was actually, they had so much stuff that they were just breaking out as far as like world premieres, even games that weren't exclusive to Xbox, still, getting those games to be premiered at their conference.
Yeah, that's
kind of sticks Xbox out for you.
Yeah, that's been something that's decoding the Microsoft conference has been its own job the last couple of years, because so many of them say exclusive, or they've got like 4 different descriptors that they'll put on any trailer saying what it is in relationship to them, and you have to like kind of read between the lines to figure out exactly what this means.
World premiere, console exclusive, launch exclusive. It's like they just start rattling them.
Yeah. And because the Microsoft one is always interesting because they show off a lot of stuff that you can get on every other console, which is always strange. But yeah, like you're saying, it does give you a lot of hype for their system because look at all the cool stuff you can play on Xbox. It's not the only place you can play it, but it is a great way to sell that as a platform. Like, you can still play all this cool stuff here, which at this point I think is their biggest selling point. Well, that and not being the PlayStation 4, which is also a huge...